Hello, Rama Rama Puppodu. I hope all are having a healthy life, feeling very peaceful, relaxed, and happy always. Now, let's start with the next chapter, chapter 35, Trimbakeshwar. On the following morning, early morning, Ramdas started for Trimbakeshwar, 16 miles from Panchavati. Ramdas reached the place at about 3 in the afternoon. First, the temple of Trimbakeshwar was visited. This place reminded Ramdas of Kedarnath and Badrinath. The plateau on which the town and the temple are built is surrounded on three sides with high mountains. Ramdas scaled these mountains one after the other. First to ascend was the small hill of Ambaji, next the hill of Gungadwar, then the still higher hill Brahmagiri. The climbing of Brahmagiri was a memorable one. Ramdas went up alone with Ram on his lips. Ascending the top of the hill, Ramdas got down the slope on the other side until he came upon a small tank and a mandir of Shankar, in which there was a sadhu. Ramdas was received by the sadhu very hospitably. He narrated the story of Gautama's tapasya on those hills in ancient days. The sadhu lives alone here in the company of a number of monkeys that run about on the roof of the temple. After sharing with Ramdas his frugal fare, the sadhu pointed to Ramdas a thin footpath on the hill, which would, he said, lead Ramdas to a place called Jata Shankar. Accordingly, Ramdas started, accompanied also by a Brahmin pilgrim. But the Brahman was with Ramdas only for a short distance, for when they had to walk amongst brambles and high grown grass and reeds, they missed each other, both having lost their way. Ramdas now found a long line of steps cut into the bosom of the hills. Here he climbed down and finding below a small opening, crept out of it on the other side and found himself on another hill. Again, walking for some distance, he came upon another similar passage, and going down here as well, he came up on the other side to a different hill. Here again he proceeded further still, now through thorny shrubs and thick growth of reeds. At last he came to the end of the summit. Here appeared on the extreme edge of the slope something like a beaten track. Now Ramdas was standing on the brow of a tremendous precipice. The bottom of the hill could be seen from this place straight down vertically, many hundreds of feet below. To attempt to walk upon the slope meant a very dangerous experiment, but a strange fascination seemed to have seized Ramdas. He crept slowly upon the slope. His hold was thin, dried up grass that grew on the hill. Both his hands were engaged in this task. He was now on the slope. It was a condition in which every movement had to be counted. But Ramdas was careless and fearless. Suddenly, the dried grass in his left hand gave way and his left foot slipped. Ramdas was even now calm and unperturbed, his lips uttering Ram's name aloud. It was rather a very severe test on Ram's powers of protection. But nothing is impossible for the all-powerful Ram. Ramdas' other hand was then grasping a stone which was also a little shaky. By a strong concentration of all strength at this point, Ramdas recovered his balance and drew up the slipped leg. This became all possible by the aid of Ram alone. It was Ram alone who pulled him up. A few minutes later, he was again on the same path that led him to the precipice. While returning, he came across a small tank full of pure spring water. Here Ramdas met again the missed Brahman pilgrim. Jata Shankar could not be found, so both retraced their steps towards the mandir and thence, finding the way downhill before evening, reached back Trimbakeshwar. That night, Ramdas could not help thinking again and again of the wonderful manner in which Ram saved him while he was about to fall down the precipice. That same evening, Ramdas mounted up a small hillock and spent some time in the ashram of a Maratha saint. During his stay in the Dharmashala, Ramdas has also the unique privilege of having the darshan of an old learned sannyasi permanently residing in the Dharmashala. In the course of his talk with Ramdas, the venerable saint condemned in no uncertain terms the use of silk by Brahmins as a sacred cloth. His contention was that the cotton cloth is the best suited and one of the purest materials since it is made from the yield of a plant's flower, whereas silk is procured by killing thousands of innocent silkworms. So he considered, instead of silk cloth being holy, it was the most sinful article for wear and must be totally eschewed. Further, he said the crores of rupees worth of silk was every year being imported from China, Japan, and other countries, which meant an enormous drain upon the poor and diminishing wealth and resources of India. The old saint spoke with great earnestness and asked Ramdas if he agreed with him. Ramdas at once gave his humble and unqualified approval to his diabet upon the evil. The sannyasi was so jealous upon this subject that he was busy circulating notices, getting them pasted on the walls of temples and dharmashalas, writing to newspapers and calling upon all devout people to give up once for all the use of silk, which he described as nothing short of a most sinful luxury. He explained that wearing of silk was unknown to the ancients of India, since no mention of it could be found anywhere in the Vedas, and the use of it had not been enjoined by any religious authority. The sannyasi was kind to Ramdas and desired that he should remain in Trimbakeshwar for some days more. But Ram's command had already come. So next morning Ramdas left the place for Panchavati, which he reached in the afternoon. Ramdas visited the Sri Ramachandra Mandir of Panchavati and had the darshan of several sadhus on the bank of Godavari. The following day, walking up to the railway station, Ramdas started by the night train and travelling via Manmad and Gurduvadi came to Pandharpur. That's all, folks. Let's see in the next chapter. Thank you. Bye bye. Rama Rama Puppodu.